may motivate some in the executive and legislative branches. Our terms have a long-term vista, one that should not be anchored in the result in the political fray. Elected officials, on the other hand, though elected to better represent the interests of their constituents, have often proven otherwise. You know what makes a difficult case? It is not the difficulty in the principles and the law. It is the difficulty in what the result will be. Because we know that if the result favors one politician over the other, we will always get the ad hominem attacks from everyone out there saying, because this is the result, you coddle this person. Whereas in truth and in fact, if you look at the principles, it is there for a reason. And it is there in order to maintain the rule of law and justice and for the long run. Okay. So I guess you also have that feeling. Because once you choose who to prosecute first, sasabihin nila, ay bakit siya nauna? Hindi ito. So kinakabel nyo yung hinuli ninyo. But in reality, you can only do some things initially and then go to the other. And some cases are more difficult to evolve and develop than the other. So I am confident that you here in the Ombudsman know what I mean. To be appointed allows a modicum of freedom from the current systems. We are given the privilege of thinking long-term and planning reform for the duration of our service, much like the SPJI. In theory, this unique position releases us, or is supposed to release us from the anchor of short-term politics. The office and the Ombudsman and the judiciary are responsible for bringing to justice those who violate the law, ensuring vigilance against abuse of power. We don the cloak as arbiters between the people and the justice system by guarding against impunity. The ordinary person cannot directly go head-to-head against these powers, which is where our duty comes in to tip the scales of justice in favor of the oppressed and marginalized. Always in our minds, we should not be thinking whether we should favor this political faction over that political faction. Our true principles are the people who are powerless, who face government on a daily basis, and who see the corruption daily. It is not a political faction over the other. Officials have been caught in corruption cases, signaling the need for intervention by institutions such as ours. Recent events have revealed the need to further strengthen our institutions, streamline our processes, and prevent delays in the administration of justice. Our role as vanguards of justice is now more than ever apparent, and we are called to respond at a crucial time in our justice system. However, we acknowledge the factors which still weaken our independence. Appointed officers might become beholden to their appointers, fostering a sense of obligation. This impairs their judgments. I would always say, after you are appointed by a president, after you are appointed by the person that appointed you, your duty now is no longer to the appointing officer, it is to our people. Let me just share with you one of the first votes that I cast after having been appointed by President Pinoy was to cast that deciding vote, saying that President cannot remove a Deputy Ombudsman. Gonzales versus Executive Secretary. I reached the court, 7-7 sila. And I think they were thinking I would vote in favor of the administration that appointed me. That was one of my first votes, to vote against the administration for me. By the way, that case is also still very relevant to you. Gonzales versus Executive Secretary. Then there is the expectation, even within the judiciary and perhaps in the Ombudsman, that when you are appointed, na dapat kayo nakakausap. To be nakakausap, ideally, means that the judiciary or the Ombudsman can provide accessible justice to litigants, always listening to the burdens of those marginalized by the existing system. Ibig sabihin, dapat nakakausap kayo na mahirap. Sasabihin sa inyo, ang hirap po dito, ang tagal po namin, nakakulong kami, hindi namin ma-afford yung bail, ang tagal-tagal po yung schedule ng calendar. Yun po yung nakakausap. We weigh the scales of justice, not just by the law, but more importantly, by social justice. However, there has always been the temptation in the halls of power that nakakausap means giving access to those already who are powerful. And that's the bad way that nakakausap tayo. Our original independent position within the framework of checks and balances is compromised by this factor. We are made vulnerable to the machinations of corruption that loom over other departments of government. Being aware of this, we must take stock of the powers vested in us, not by those who appointed us, but by the people whom we serve. Then there is the politics of fear. Fear is a powerful tool for getting people to do what you want. Almost synonymous with power itself, fear has been wielded by some to influence the actions of the masses, their allies, and enemies alike. We are turned against each other through fear-mongering, sowing discord and paranoia among even the best of us. The way fear works is simple. It targets an innate insecurity in an individual, our deepest motivations, our families, affiliations, affairs, desires, our tenure in public office, all of which can be brought to light through shaming us, can trigger fear. Fear as a political tool manufactures instability, threatening either our individual or our collective positions. For some, this means the fear of being stripped by the legal titles that we have, the power, the prestige, and the privileges that we enjoy. We see the politics of fear at work when political figures shy away from speaking truth to power because their allies might revoke their positions. Far too long have we been invested in our indebtedness to those who have brought us to where we are in life. Some bend over backwards to accommodate these patrons, turn a blind eye, and facilitate the ejection of political rivals. This should no longer be the case. We are indebted to no one except the mandate of our office. We are not accountable to the appointing power or the present administration. The powerful are not our principals. Our principals are the voiceless, the powerless, the Filipino people, long suffering from the abuse of the powerful. The rule of law should be the rule of social justice. What must be legal in our hands must be what is just. This is not to say we ignore present realities. I have spoken extensively about the need to interpret the law in context. The law is not a monolith to be followed blindly. Its text, a codified norm, and like all texts, must be read against the social, historical, and political factors that produce it and that continue to support it. Contestation of dominant views that have not worked for everyone, not the mythical deliberative consensus of the anonymous few, is the foundation of democracy. Contestation and challenge is the foundation of democracy. Law and its interpretation should be the product of that contestation. Our Constitution embeds the words social justice as one of its important principles alongside democracy. Social justice should be elaborated in every case we decide and every case that you file. It often requires that we not deliver on the short-term political expectations of those who consider us their allies. It may be that social justice, the result required to favor the vulnerable and the marginalized, may be a decision or a position that goes against the interests of those in power. It may be that the requirement of social justice requires you to judge your demise as a public officer. That may be possible. While we hold public trust, we must always be aware that the power entrusted in us is temporary. We must not fear losing it if doing so means we have done what is right. The moment we believe that our task is to prolong our tenure in office, regardless of whether it will address the liberation of our people from oppression and abuse, we will become lost in a false rhetoric fueled by paranoia and grandiosity. We become slaves of the greedy. We must understand, however, also that we are not here to be saviors of the masses. Instead, our role is to understand the narratives of those who suffer and to enable and empower them. We are only as good as the work we do in raising the consciousness of the people we serve. Our work is to help them recognize their latent power. For the judiciary and the ombudsman, this means always improving this concept of access to justice. The people do not need a Messiah to save them. That is impossible. EDSA 1 and EDSA 2 taught us that there can be no Messiah. People power should remain people power, not a legitimization of a faction of the elite using the rhetoric of democracy and people to further inequality and disempowerment. Tulad nga ng palaging sinasabi ng iba, walang magpapalaya sa atin kung hindi tayo mismo. Walang magpapalaya sa atin kung hindi tayo mismo. Hindi presidente, hindi savior, hindi Messiah. Taong bayan, organized, demanding of us that we do our jobs. This is where we begin dismantling the politics of fear. When we look beyond our positions and titles and focus on the work of empowering and enlightening our people, we become safe from it. We become ready for our own demise. We accept that we will not be remembered as heroes. We accept that our legacy is to lessen the suffering of our people, even if we are not remembered. Our goal is liberation, not remembrance. I repeat, our goal is liberation, not remembrance. What we need now are state persons, statesmen, who are not swayed by immediate political pressures. And we need leaders, not demagogues. We need wisdom, not viral posts. We need leaders who live their principles, not those who live for memes. The times call for leadership that invites critical thinking rather than fear, decisive decision-making rather than rash action, and genuine service rather than self-serving public statements. We will never be fully immune to the politics of fear or the temptations of power. There will be moments of weakness, and as humans, we will slip. This is why we need to be inspired by those we work with. We need to be reminded that being critical does not mean being psychopaths. Sa Tagalog, mga sipsip, to those whom we are indebted. We must leave behind our fear of being unmoored from our positions, sacrificing in turn our duty to our people. We must have the courage. Serving our people well with intention and purpose is difficult. Doing what is right and just will often displease the status quo. I will repeat. Doing what is right and just will often displease the status quo. If we live under injustice, then it should displease them. That displeasure will invite a propaganda of shame to be directed at us. I know. I have been there. I am still there. You should know. You have been there. You are still there. They will do their work. Our response should be to do better. Doing better, we contribute to unmooring the foundations of their greed. Doing better, we will lessen our own people's suffering. If that be the price of our service, then so be it. The key to a fuller understanding of our roles is simple. Our titles and our power are not for us. It is not about us. It has never been about us. And therefore, we should aim never to only be remembered. Finally, I leave you with two further ideas that have inspired me. First, the worst emotion to feel at the brink of death, and this is very important, to think about that moment that you died. The worst emotion to feel at that brink of death is regret. Regret means that we live in the present, hoping that we have done better in the past. Regret is best addressed by realizing the privileges we have now. Regret can be avoided by being critically aware of the consequences of choosing convenience right now over discomfort, even though we know that discomfort leads to what is right for others. Do not let regret be the legacy that you leave. Serve with integrity while we still can. Choosing to do nothing or choosing what is convenient but not just is a political act. It not only causes injustice for our people. If we do that, it is the cause of injustice. At some point in our careers, many of us are tempted to simply be quiet. We grow tired. We grow comfortable. We tell ourselves that someone else will speak, that someone else will act, that this is not our fight. But silence is never neutral. It is permission. Remaining silent in the face of corruption, especially when we hold office, authority, and voice, is complicity in injustice. Silence is not prudence. Silence is not humility. Silence is injustice. Second, I again emphasize that the titles and masks we currently carry are transient. We will be forgotten, and the chase for attribution and remembrance of who we are is a fool's journey. What is important is that we know, when we are alone and forgotten, that our lives have mattered, that we have not only lessened the suffering of another human being, but also contributed to a society where all have the capability and the ability to achieve a meaningful life, not like what we have right now. That we have contributed to truly meaningful freedoms. Let us do what is right. Let us do what we can. Our people still suffer. Our people still suffer. Under our watch. We will not fail them. We cannot fail them. Agyamanak, maraming salamat. Thank you. Shukran.